everybody. How are y'all doing? Welcome to Something to Bark About. I see Ninja. Welcome. Hi, David. Welcome. Let's give them something to bark about. I tell you what, I, you know, y'all know me and the button pushing. And last time I did my restream and tried to go live with my friend from Montana, y'all know the disaster that was of echoing and everything. And I didn't touch anything. I promise. I didn't push any buttons. But so I've been trying to figure out how to do restream from my phone, and I have all my one. I can walk around with the phone and go do the different daycare babies and all that stuff. Um, and I have all my photos and stuff so easily to upload. But dummy me, I got to spend more time trying to figure it out because I have not figured it out yet. Um, but at least I don't think I'm echoing today. I hope not. I hope everything is coming through like it's supposed to. How's everybody been doing? I hope everybody had a good weekend and got their started their week going good. We do around here. I got four of my girls wanted to join me when I start that song. They'll come running. They know what that song is. So, and that was another thing. I was trying to figure out how to have my song on the phone, and Paul Voss, who did the song for me, he sent it to me in Dropbox. But when I go to open it now, it won't play. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but definitely don't want me pushing buttons because it gets me in trouble. So well, we appreciate everybody coming in. Hey Val, welcome. Stay cool and hydrated this week. Absolutely. It is hot in Arkansas. I don't know where you're, it says Val in NC. Does that mean North Carolina? Or where you at, Val? Ninja. Oh, French. Welcome, French. I've seen you all morning. I got up with Shizzy this morning and got to get in his live for a little bit before the daycare dogs started coming in. And then was on our friend JJ's show for a little while and saw that Mr. Coop's wife was having some kind of medical issue going on today, so praying everything's good with her. Um, North Carolina on the coast. Cool. Never been to North Carolina or South Carolina. I've always wanted to go. The closest I got was buying a beagle puppy for one of my really good customers and friends. And I think over the years we have bought her 2 or 3 beagles. I think we bought her one, and the puppy, as a young dog, got blasto, which is horrible. They get that from the spores in the soil, and it was just horrible. Beautiful dog. She was only probably, I don't know, 15 months old or so. And then this friend, of course, losing her dog, she went newspaper ad shopping, which back in the day, that's how you found people with dogs and puppies, but usually not the best way to find them. And Unfortunately, the beagle she got, when I saw her, I was like, oh no, she, poor little bite was way off, and she loved the dog, but she had so many medical issues, and bless her heart, I don't know how much money she spent on that dog over the years. And so after something happened to that one, we all pitched in again, and we we got her beagle from, I think, South Carolina. Pretty sure it's South Carolina. The dog's name is Carolina, and it was one of the top beagle show kennels in the country. They'd won at Westminster, so very, very healthy, right size. Just she's a beautiful dog, smart as she can be, and she comes to doggy daycare. Fritz said Mr. Coop news post said Mama was okay and that they'll be on YouTube tomorrow. That's great news. That's great news. David said upstate New York. Well, I have been to New York. Got to go to Westminster. That was my dream Christmas present one year that I was surprised with a trip to Westminster, and went to the garden and Tavern on the Green, and just all these amazing things happened that 3 or 4 days. I don't think I took a breath until we got on the plane headed back to Arkansas, because I rode my first limousine, and it was just amazing. Got to sit and eat lunch with some of the dog show judges that were, pioneers in the dog world, and I couldn't believe I was in the same room with them, much less the same table, and we had the big party Iris Love did every year for the dachshund people, and at the time that's what I was showing was dachshunds, and I met Diane Sawyer, Rod Stewart, I can't remember. It was so much went on those 3 or 4 days. I was walking around to the dog show park, actually, while I was there. And this lady stopped and said something to me, and we just, it was packed. It was President's Day weekend, and the place was just packed. And anyway, this lady said something to me, and I spoke and said something back, and I get back up in the stands, and my two buddies that had made a lot of this happen with all the connections, they had shown dogs for all kinds of celebrities, Joan Rivers, I can't remember them all, but, seeing celebrities wasn't that big a deal with them. But they said, what'd she say? What'd she say? And I was like, what did who say? What are you talking about? And it was Lord McCall who had said something to me, and I still really didn't know who Lord McCall was, except now I know she was a very famous actor, and they were just shocked that I didn't know who it was, and go crazy, but I didn't know who it was. Ninja is hot in Florida. I can imagine. I think we're at 100 degrees today. I've got all the babies shut up, trying to keep the air conditioner going. Got that about Mama Coop's good. Let's see. Something to bark about. I have 65 paired out inside and happy that my old doggies left us before having to deal with such heat waves. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I tell you, that's the only thing I found I hate about dogs, that's saying goodbye. I've got a 15-year-old schnauzer boarding with me, and when their family's having some illness going on, and when she first came in, she was way past the haircut stage, and I, have retired grooming, except I have 3 tomorrow. But um, anyway, I'd had the dog about a week, and she just wasn't eating right, and I was really concerned. And so on a Sunday afternoon, I just put the dog up on the table and went to shaving. I mean, it was the point of she had to be shaved naked to get the tangles and stuff out. And that dog and the next day was like a new dog. I mean, she's running, she's playing, and I guess all that hair was hurting, and that she's ate every day, twice a day, eats good, and she's just doing great. And of course, when you keep one that age, you really get worried about, I get nervous when they're that age, but how good she's doing now, uh, it's just, it tickles me to death. We were out there, me and Darla, the other day, and she was trying to get both of our attention, and she started trying to turbo. And it was the cutest thing. Me and Darla both was just laughing, and our hearts were about to burst out of our chest just seeing that old dog, try to get energy and play. And she got to see her mama yesterday, so that was good. And but it's just, it's hard on that was Friday, not yesterday. That was Friday. She came by to see her, but anyway. Yes, Val, they do love us unconditionally. I was playing around with AI a while ago, and when I couldn't get my Paul Voss song on my phone, which is what I want, I had played with AI, and y'all, I'm sure, saw the song it posted, and only thing, and it did the point about, I've always loved that saying, if we could be half as much as our dogs think we are. And that's true. They look at us like we're the whole world and think we're just the greatest at everything. And that's always been a thought in my mind. I want to be half as good as my dog thinks I am, because they think we're the greatest thing around. And that unconditional love is sure a part of it. Sure a part of it. Well, I didn't get to do lives last week. Well, actually, I did the short one, but I did get to go to the doctor last Thursday and meet the lung specialist. And he basically had 3 options. The first thing was chemo, and he said that that's what makes everybody sick, because it goes all throughout your body and not to a specific area to treat. And he said they could do centralized radiation right on my lung, but that was not a guarantee, and that I'd have to continue having tests and checking for it and all that. And before he even said the third option, I was already pointing to it, because he was writing everything down. And the third option was surgery. And he said that by doing surgery, that they would remove the spot of cancer, and I'd be totally cancer free. So, I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer. They say it's a very painful surgery, and he started explaining how they'll make 4 little cuts and go through with a bionic arm and get to my lung. They deflate the lung. You're on some kind of machine that's breathing for you or whatever. And he's going in details. Take your lung out, do this, and put it back in. And I'm like, I'm good. I really don't need to know anything else except you can fix it, and no chemo, radiation, and so I feel very blessed with that. plan. And I think that's the biggest thing that's gave me joy is having a plan. Because since April of finding this out, I've just been on pins and needles, kind of waiting to know what's next. And I told him that I had a dog show I really wanted to go to the end of July. And I said, and most important is the Chihuahua Nationals in October. So he set the date for August 3rd, and that's planned. Said I'd be in the hospital 3 or 4 days, and then probably take a 4 to 6 week recovery time. So I am, believing this is the best thing possible. And, I've told y'all about going to the Cartile, which is a cancer type thing that they have an office in El Dorado, which is only 30 miles for me, versus Little Rock, where I went last Thursday's 100 miles one way. And I went to the Winthrop Rockefeller Cancer Institute. And oh my gosh, I didn't know we had that big a place in Arkansas. I mean, this hospital and doctors' offices and parking, I mean, it was just massive. And, there may be bigger places in Arkansas, but that's one of the biggest I've ever seen. And hey, Shizzy, welcome. Glad you snuck in on me. But I mean, it just humbles you to see that many people at all different stages of dealing with stuff, and my heart just goes out to them because you just want to be able to help everybody. And I have one of my daycare customers right now that her mom found out about the same time I did with the lung cancer diagnosis. And unfortunately, hers was already, stage 3 or 4 or whatever. And they had these plans of doing treatments and, trying to get her to the point of surgery. And unfortunately, she had to go to ICU last Friday. And it's just, the cancer has spread, and she couldn't breathe with it pushing on her esophagus. And it just, to know, that, I mean, this daughter is probably in her early 30s, and she's having to say goodbye to her mom, man. And it just, they were bringing me the dog to keep this week, other than just daycare. And my heart just went out to them because I lost my mom when I was 39, and I thought I'd got really robbed. But she had Alzheimer's, and we called it the long goodbye because we'd been saying goodbye to her for a couple of years before she physically left us. But it sounds like this lady didn't get the chance. And I am so thankful that, I have been given a great opportunity to beat this. And I've said all along, I think the good Lord's got plenty of babies, 4-legged babies for me to take care of. So, and I want, I'm gonna have to get these 4 out of the way, but I want y'all to meet my new boy that was born last Friday, and his name is Costalite. And for Nono to have one puppy when she had 6 in her first litter, and when I took her to the vet for an x-ray about day 45, and they said, looks like one big puppy. And I'm like, no, surely not. Well, they were right, one puppy. And I'd taken her to the clinic. My vet was on vacation, and I'd take her to the clinic last Friday morning because she went in labor. And I'm like, this was a couple of days before I was planning on it. And the vet was leaving at noon. And I didn't want to push her and rush her, give nature its opportunity. And but you don't feel real good in an area where you have to drive. I mean, it's 2 hours for me to get to Monroe, Louisiana for an emergency vet, or Little Rock. There are vets in El Dorado and Magnolia, but it depends on what's going on with them, and I've tried to keep my foot in the door at both towns so that I did have a backup plan. But then after, especially Fridays, a lot of them don't work on the weekends. But anyway, no, it kind of quit labor. And I'm like, dog, what are you doing, And then about 2 o'clock, she started up again. And I didn't think we were getting anywhere. So we take off to Magnolia. And, I know Dr. Alexander was ready for his Friday to get off. But thankfully, they took her in and got the boy out, and he said that is one big puppy. And I have never had a puppy get out of the whelping box. At 3 days old, this little feller was out of the whelping box, and he's 10 days today, and he was out of the whelping box again. No was going crazy, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's couple of feet from the whelping box. I think now he's just rolling out. And so we always, usually when the puppies are around 2.5, 3 weeks old, I have a regular playpen, like a child's playpen, that we move mama and baby into, and we have we lay one side down where the mama can have steps in there where the mama can get in and out. The puppy is safe and can start walking around in a bigger area. But cost a lot. That just came out of me because one puppy. Now I had to pay for a C-section. Everything was just and that was the first thought that came to my mind is cost a lot. And it'd been another one for me as possible show dog. I don't want boys. I just, no, we gotta have the boys for a reason, but as far as, I just like my girls, and the housework's the best with girls. So, I kept saying this one puppy was gonna be a smooth coat girl, and when the little girl walked out with him in a washcloth, and she's like shaking her head. I knew immediately it was a boy. But anyway, I am tickled to have a healthy puppy, no matter if it is an old boy, and tickled that No, she is such a good mama, and it's been kind of sad that she didn't have 4 or 5 more to take care of, because Lord knows she would do it. And she has been a milk truck, and this puppy, and my dad's initials was CA, so when I said cost a lot and Darla said CA, I was like, that's it, that's gonna be his name, is at least while he's at this residence, he'll be called Cost a Lot. So but I wanted to let everybody see him up close and personal, but I have to rearrange dogs for a second. That I know on Jade's show there's been some fun moments when somebody walks away from the screen and well, if I do that, it's because of dogs, and 4-leggeds. We're having a going away party. One of my daycare dogs is moving to Pennsylvania, and we've got all kinds of goodies out there for him, and I'm gonna do some video, and I got hats for him to wear, and um, I think the moving truck's coming next week, so we wanted to go ahead and give Loki his goodbye party, and all his buddies has brought him something, and he's gonna have a big time getting in all his gifts in a little bit. So hopefully I get a good video and be fun to watch. But we're gonna miss Sissy and Loki. Um, I groomed, when I first started grooming 40 years ago, Sissy Martin had 4 Bichons, Bichon Frises. And I didn't even know what a Bichon was, and I groomed them once a week. And gosh, probably for 12, 15 years, they lived to be quite old, that I was still grooming them. And she's had other dogs over the years, but Loki he's, I don't know, I'd say golden retriever, shepherd mix, something. He's just one of them where you can't quite put your finger on it, but he's a sweet and gorgeous dog, and probably weighs around 50 pounds or so. But uh, his daddy passed away back in January, and so now his mom is going to Pennsylvania to be closer to her sons, and so we're gonna miss Loki, and especially Bella, his doodle Bella. They're just really in a boxer. Harley, those 3 are the big buddies. But Bella and Loki, they even have daycare parties when I'm gone. You know, I get text up, well, we're meeting at Loki's, or we're meeting at Bella's. I'm like, what do y'all need me for? You know, don't ever say that. But let's see, what'd you say, Ninja? I know, mini Bichons. Oh. That was a good one, Ninja. That was a good one. Yeah. Bichon Frise. I think I say it pretty good after 40 years in dogs. You already heard me 40 years ago saying it. Didn't come out quite like that. There's another breed that my doctor had, and this little dog, she lived to be 22, 23. I groomed her as well. And Cotton, I can't tell you the rest, Cotten, and it's a D something, and I can't help you there, but to me it looked like a Maltese with a different head. You know, they're white, they got the cottony string hair like a Maltese, and they're beautiful dogs, but oh my gosh, lots of work. They're not great for pet homes, because you're not going to spend the hours every day it takes to maintain that coat. And you know, if you're going to keep them shaved naked, which we had to do a lot with her, because you know, I tell people all the time, if a dog comes in tangled, and if it's about, I'm going to be naked for a couple weeks, or Darlene's going to pull on me for an hour and try to get these out, they're going to be naked. Because I think how I would be, if I had gum in my hair, I would not want somebody trying to comb it out and pull. I'd be handing them the scissors, you know, just common sense. So that's always how I looked at, you know. And now there are some groomers that's all they know how to do is shave them naked. That ain't good either. But I 100% take what the dog's best and how it feels to them before any cosmetic type deal. So anybody else know anything good going on that I've missed? I know I missed some. You had a Keyshawn Now that was a major daily coat care. Absolutely. I had a Keyshawn. I've always said Keyshawn, but you listen at the dude do Westminster, he says a Kazan or something. Uh, but I had a Keyshawn that uh, was probably 50, 60 miles from me that the owner brought every 3 weeks, and I groomed that dog till it got old, and it was in full coat, but we kept it maintained, and the undercoat. I mean, you talk about hair now; they got hair, and like Ninja said, if you do daily care, then you can keep them in that coat. But if all that undercoat starts trying to come out and it gets hung up with the other coat, you got a mess. I had a husky that just passed away a couple years ago, and I groomed him, and he was probably 15, 17, quite a quite an age for that breed. But I mean, I literally put on a painter's mask doing him, because if I had the blow dryer going, and it would take me 2 weeks to get all the hair up. And so most of the time I would go outside, and me and him would sit out back, and there'd be hair everywhere. But that was much better than all over my room. So what's Val say? Brother had corgis. Corgi glitter was everywhere. Yes, I had Pembroke Welch corgis when I first started. I had the Pembrokes and boxers, and my Pembrokes next to Jack Russell's was probably the smartest breed I'd ever had. Uh, my dog Yoda, she was trained in obedience and for the confirmation ring, and I would just change whichever collar. If she had the chain collar on, she knew she had to heel and sit and do everything. Um, but if I had her nylon collar, she knew she's supposed to run around the ring, get out front of me and show. But I taught that dog to count when she was a puppy, and I could hold up any fingers in pretty much any order, and Yoda was good at it. And my mom kept saying, you need to do flashcards. I'm like, Mom, the dog ain't gonna read a flashcard. That's taking it too far. And I would go to a lot of schools and take my dogs and entertain the kiddos and stuff. Well, I'll be dadgum if my mama didn't come in with those flashcards that she made up for Yoda, and very seldom was she wrong. I mean, it'd be like 2 plus 2, and the dog would bark 4 times, and I'm sitting there going, who did that? Because it wasn't me. And I mean, she was a beautiful and smart girl. When I was showing her in obedience, they had to stay in the sit position for a minute with you across the room 30 feet away, and stay in the down position for 3 minutes. Well, I don't know if you've ever been in a dog show ring with your dog 30 feet from you, and they're supposed to be in a certain position for 3 minutes, but that's the longest 3 minutes of your life. And Yoda was so smart that she didn't get out of the laying down position. She just scooted and crawled all the way till she was touching my feet. Never got up, and I'd just be looking at the judges like, hey, you gotta give that to her. She did not get up, but of course, that we did not win like that, because she was fudging on the rules. So, but it was fun. And that corgi glitter, that's what I call my Chihuahua glitter. I have to, I shouldn't tell this story, but it happened, and I like to be for real, because life happens. But I had the dogs in the bedroom I think that was Friday a week ago, whatever, I was cleaning Chihuahua glitter. And one of my videos, I had saw uh, dog hair on the floor in the video, and I'm like, yeah, I think it's time to get the vacuum and, actually move the crates and couch and clean behind them. Welcome, Teeny. Um, oh, I'm so sorry. 17, 4 days apart. Oh, just breaks my heart. I am so sorry. Sending hugs your way. That's devastating. I mean, absolutely devastating. My heart is with you because it's hard enough to lose one, but lose two like that. Do you have any more dogs, or was that your only two? It, I say it never makes it easier, but I know from what I've seen with dogs and customers all these years and my own dogs that uh, the love and compassion from another one help get through a time like that. That's why I was so worried about No and having to do that C-section. Is I lost a beautiful girl about 3 years ago, and uh, she was having a C-section and actually threw a clot during the surgery. And I mean, she came out of the surgery, but it was horrible on oxygen, and just we kept her alive 2 or 3 days. And then the four babies, I was bottle feeding them and lost them just within a week. I'd lost everybody, and at the at the time it was so hard, and Darla had just out of anger, she was like, what, why did you braid her, why did you braid her? And that hurt really. It was a hard comment. We say things sometimes when we're hurting, but the next day it was like, if I hadn't have bred, we wouldn't have had her to start with. So, I mean, and to me, and that, this game, if you're gonna do it right, if you're gonna have healthy dogs and be the size they're supposed to be, and the temperament and the health and all that kind of stuff, it does cost a lot of money. And I have never bred a dog thinking, oh, I'm going to get X amount of puppy. I mean, that's just responsible breeders and responsible dog people. They don't get in it with dollar signs, because Lord knows this place would be paid for, and no telling what, I could have if I hadn't spent 40 years of vet bills and everything else. But Tenny, I'm so sorry. You do have a Mastiff Pit and a Norwegian Terrier. Well, like I said, that doesn't um, take away your pain, but I could not imagine, losing mine. When my Jack Russell, she was 21 when I lost her, and we had a Chihuahua that had we named him Homeless Homer. I don't even remember, this been 15, 20 years ago, but we ended up with this Chihuahua that he loved me, but nobody else could touch him. And him and Susie Q became just buddies. And we thought the dog was 16 or 17, and figured somebody just threw him out, didn't want to deal with him, old age and that kind of stuff. And we named him Homeless Homer. And Homer and Susie Q, and it was like a nursing home, like they connected, and she'd get up because of him and vice versa. And Susie Q was 21, and Homer died 2 days before, and we think he had a heart attack, and Susie Q did too. And You can't tell me that dogs don't grieve for other dogs, and that's the thing. When you have other ones, they are going to go through a period of grieving, and anytime there's something different with us, they're going to sense it, and no matter what it is, but they know. And if they don't eat and act normal for a few days, think about how you're feeling, and that's exactly what the dog is feeling. um, that I'm so sorry. Val says, I have a friend that lost a Great Dane a few months ago. They have a house of Frenchies. Just got a Bernese. The house wasn't the same without a big dog. Named Theodore Fitzgerald Grant the third. Teddy. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Yeah, and I mean, if I didn't have doggy daycare with all the sizes and flavors that come to daycare, I mean, we had Suey, the golden retriever that I lost 2 summers ago, and Suey was my leader dog for the blind service dog that I trained. And I get all these memories, and it's pictures of like Ups laying on Susie Q's back. She was a golden, or Susie Q and Suey, that's two different dogs. Suey, the golden retriever, and all the chihuahuas. She was so good with the puppies, and we never worried about our biggest worry was, I don't know how many puppies rode Suey across the living room, and we're about to have a heart attack trying to get up, and we'd say, "Stop, Suey," and she'd stand still until we took the puppy off her back. Knock on wood, never had one fall off, but it's just, it's pretty high up for a baby chihuahua to be on the back of a golden retriever. Oh, Cheney says, all mine are rescued. We make sure they're fixed because they are not breeding quality. Absolutely. And I see all the time, and there's so much on, social media and stuff, but the truth is, you can't build a big enough building. And saw something the other day, but I've said this for a long time. After building a shelter and running it for 7 years here in Camden, you can't build a big enough place for people's being irresponsible. The dogs are the ones that suffer. The shelter people that are raising money, begging for money, endless days and nights with these dogs, all kinds of health issues. Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be animal shelters, but my thing is, if I wish now, I always say hindsight's 50-50. If we had took the money, we worked for probably 7 or 8 years getting the money, then we had a $50,000 donation from a lady's aunt passed away that was feeding hundreds of stray cats in Memphis. Would open cans of food every day. She left that money to her niece to go to a shelter. So that's how we ended up building our building. But, what if we had done spay neuters? Because at the time there was over 5,000 stray animals in Camden and Ouachita County. Now just think about that. In a little bitty community, county-wide, maybe 25, 30,000 people spread out, but over 5,000 estimated strays, and there's all these little communities that make up Ouachita County. But I just think back to the 7 worst years of my life running that place. And yes, you celebrate the new homes, but there's one home for every 50 dogs needing one in South Arkansas. That's a bad statistic, So my thing is, why not support and make it affordable? Because you can't blame the vets. They can't do all these spay neuters on all these dogs for free. It don't work like that. But if we had, like we did a deal where it was $50 to spay or neuter your dog and $30 for your cat. And they took them. We had two vets at the time. We gave a certificate that's paid for. Then the vet would send me a bill, and I'd take their $50 and whatever the difference was, and pay the difference to the vet. So the people were happy, the vets were happy, and we ended up. I think we spayed and neutered like 5,800 and something dogs and cats during those 7 years. And, I'm very proud of that. I know we prevented a lot of unwanted dogs and cats, but anyway. Well, let me get to this quick story. Is that what Jack Russell did? I don't know if I miss. I was talking about Susie Q, my Jack Russell that lived to be 21, and her buddy Homer that died a couple of weeks before she did, a Chihuahua. And I think that Susie Q had a heart attack after him, just, missing him. I mean, but she was breathing and she wasn't, just like a person does, and there wasn't no reviving or anything. But the story I was going to tell you before I get cost a lot out for you, I was cleaning the house and had the dogs all in the bedroom. There was 7 of them in there. And I went in one time and Believe had rearranged the shoes and that, like, no big deal. Well, then Darla gets home and she comes out and she's holding Cotton, and Cotton's all just like, and Believe walks through the bathroom and she stands there and she's swaying back and forth, and I'm like, oh my God, I like to freaked out. Darla was freaking out. Do something. I'm like, just chill, let's figure. Well, a friend probably 15 years ago gave me these gummies that I didn't even know was still in the bedroom. And they were in this cabinet thing. And Believe in all her, checking out the bedroom for extra 2 or 3 hours, she opened this cabinet. And there was a thing that said 10 chocolate, peanut butter, something. And the package was empty. And so I'm calling, my vet's already left. I call poison control, and the girl was real sweet. Because of laws, they charge you. And I was like, are they going to charge me $89 to tell me to get them to emergency vet? And the girl said, yep, that's what's going to happen. So, and I don't know why I wasn't thinking of my real good friend Lori, and her daughter's a vet, and Kelsey is kind of named after her. Well, actually, she's named after a football player, but it worked out that way too. But I called her and I, said, and of course we're Googling, we're doing everything. And what I was saying is, they just gotta get it out of their system. So, anyway, that's what the vet said, and said if they were really bad, they might hook them up to IVs and stuff and help get fluids in them to flush it out. But time was the thing. So, and little Cotton, she's just in a ball, like, I'm not moving. The puppy, she was still wanting to run, but we were like, nope, you gotta go in the crate. And so we cleaned the bedroom, checking everything, and I had the MRI that next day, Friday. And I called home when I was done, and Darla said, well, they must have hid some of it, because now Oops is acting funny. And I don't know where they put it, but now we know that there's no pot in this house that any animal can ever get. And if you gave me $1,000 and say, it was here or wasn't here, I'd lost some money either way, because I wouldn't have had any idea. But it's not, it is funny, but it's not funny because that's a serious thing. And that was the conversation I had when my vet finally got my message and agreed with all I was doing. But uh, they said used to that people didn't want to admit, that they had pot in their house, and that was even a possibility. So that made it tougher on the vets in treatment. Nowadays, that it's legal in some states and all these dispensaries, I think it happens a whole lot more. And people are like, found my pot, whatever. But anyway, I got a lot of ribbon over me having high chihuahuas. Oh, and the good part of that story, the funny part, Cotton, I called her breeder and I said, what's Cotton's registered name? And she said, Confetti's High Cotton. Why? I said, well, she lived up to her name yesterday. So let me set these guys down. And I am going to walk away from the computer a second. Give me a second so I can let these go in the bedroom, but I'll be right back. Okay. Oh. Well, this mama ain't gonna let him be gone out of her sight. But this, your eyes are starting to open. Yeah, I see it cracking. Y'all first seeing it. I hadn't even seen it. Y'all see his little eyes? See, they're starting to crack open. This is Cost a Lot. And this is No-No. And No-No is a frantic mother. She loves her boy. Yeah, I'm just holding him for a second. Yeah. She says, but he has got the milk supply. I mean, all right. Well, guys, thank y'all for joining me. And I hope to do another live on Wednesday. We got to go do a going away party for Loki. So, but thank y'all, and I hope y'all will please hum your, oh, gotcha, Ninja. See, I'm trying to figure all that stuff out. Like, Megan has that music she plays, and y'all bear with me. Another year or so, I might figure some of this stuff out. But anyway, have a great rest of your evening, and we will see y'all next time. Remember, there's always